So welcome. It's April 6, 2021. I'm Joe Weston, and we're here for a weekly online global practice for reviving the global heart. And it's great to see you all, see familiar faces, as I always say, from people around the world gathering together to create this community of understanding the power of fierce compassion and heart-centered engagement, as well as cultivating a deeper level of resilience to meet the needs and the challenges of our time. And we, as you see, last week we had Michelle, who brought some really dear perspectives to our group and to our practice. And today we're going to continue in our examination of these the 8 ailments and 8 remedies of the global heart. And we've got 2 more sessions, so we're in sessions 7 now of that. And I don't think I have the document here at the moment to, I'll just have to name them. If maybe someone can type them in the chat. So it's this idea that what we're exploring with this idea of reviving the global heart is understanding that, you know, we can see each other as one human heart, as a global heart, and that we all have a function in that. And like the heart, there are many different parts to the heart, and each one has its function. And one isn't necessarily more important than the other. One might have more influence over the rest of the heart, but that in essence, all the parts, if they're fulfilling their function and understanding how to be in engagement with each other, then we have a functioning, healthy heart. And we can look at our human family the same way in terms of in what ways are we all knowing what our function is, that we each have a piece to play, and that we have the access to power, to resources and information to actually realize our potential and step into that. Imagine a world like that, which is what I believe we're holding here, that it's possible. It's just looking at the things that are keeping us from that. Imagine like the heart, that every human being plays a part in the whole, in the global heart. And when we're thriving, then we're working in tandem with each other, and we're working for the purpose of nurturing the whole system and releasing toxins from the whole system. That's basically what the heart does. It nurtures the whole system and it releases toxins. When the heart gets stuck or stagnant or ill or overinflated, it doesn't function as well. And what happens is that the whole system is not being nourished and the toxins aren't being released. So we can see that playing out on our world, like what the polarization is. It's created a situation where our hearts, the global heart and our own hearts, are hardened for various reasons, and that the heart is not meant to be hard. It's meant to be soft and luscious and juicy and always in movement. And the movement of a heart, if you've ever seen, is pretty violent. I mean, when you look at it, it's pretty intense when the different parts are banging against each other. So from outside, someone might look at that and say, wow, they're having a really serious argument or a fight. But in essence, that's just what collaboration looks like. And that is the key for fierce civility, is that to collaborate, to grow, to develop, to heal, to reconcile, to come up with new solutions, to create new alliances, we have to realize that we have to kind of butt up against each other and get into that energy, but it doesn't have to be volatile. It doesn't have to be aggression. It could be creative, spontaneous, playful even. And in essence, that's what the fierce civility work does, is it takes that polarizing energy that's more about I'm right, no, I'm right, that creates this stagnation, and find a way to soften it, to always find the pivot. And in a sense, coming back to these ailments and remedies, is that when we're stuck in this stagnation, it's causing what I would say, what we see developing in our society, is a society that is technologically overfed and spiritually malnourished. And so for me, and for what we're practicing here, is that's the remedy, is how do we take advantage of the technology we have, which is set up for us to be more a global heart that functions well together, get rid of all the things that are keeping us from that, cultivate more spiritual nutrition, therefore cultivate more of our heart, and imagine bringing our intellect and and all the information we have in connection with the transformative power of the heart, then we can see things begin to move and shift. That's the vision I have, and that's where I say I have hope in the messiness, because there's more and more people who are understanding the power of the heart, and just this group that we meet weekly is a testament to that. So in essence, the 8 ailments are ways in which collectively, but also personally, we are suffering from some of the symptoms of an overfed technological system and an undernourished spiritually undernourished system. And and just to go through them again, thank you, Shelley, for typing that. The first 6 that we've already explored are inner storm, paralysis, fear, separation, isolation, and arrogance. If you miss those and you want to see, you can get on our YouTube channel and check them out. Today, we're going to talk about self-righteousness. And if you remember, these are ailments, which all of us, I believe, on some level, some more than others, are experiencing. If you're not, then that's fine. If you feel like you're free of this ailment, great. Let's talk. But if you are feeling that this is something that is challenging you, then yeah, to be open to it, because in a sense, the remedies are all like little doses of medicine that you take over and over again. It's not the idea that you take the medicine once, or you just read about the medicine, or you just buy the medicine and never take it, right? That can happen too. You can read about it, great medicine. Or, yeah, I'm gonna go buy it, sitting on my table, looks great in the bottle. That's not gonna heal the ailment. And oftentimes just taking one dose isn't going to either. And actually in the healing process, it could be very uncomfortable, even painful. So it's hard to stay in that, to have the perseverance and the patience and the trust and the faith in the remedy, to believe that it's going to move you into a state of healing. So I say that because some of the remedies are really simple, and the more you take it, meaning the more you repeat it in your thoughts, in your words, and you practice it in your actions, that's how you're going to begin to start feeling its healing powers, restorative powers, transformative powers. I bring that up because this next one's pretty challenging. So if these remedies don't trigger you in some way, then either you're healed and you don't need it, or you need to take it more often to see what its impact can be. So if you notice a trigger, just be aware of that and see what that brings up. Because we're talking about self-righteousness. And that is confrontational in the sense of, who wants to be considered self-righteous? And yet, so many of us are doing it, whether we know it or not. And it has to do with an out of balance sense of your own sense of morality and ethics, or an out of balance need to have other people live according to your morals and ethics. It's great to have a value system where you resonate from your highest values. It's great to have an ethical code. It's great to have a moral code. Whatever word works for you. I know some of those words can be triggering. And in essence, that is the essence of what I believe all spiritual practice has been since thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, that you can always trace in every spiritual movement or practice or religion, that what you're being offered is a blueprint for how human beings can function as their highest on this planet. In a sense, suggesting to you what you should step into, like mercy, charity, generosity, love, joy, compassion, and stepping away from things that are harmful, like murder, theft, lying, coveting, things like that. Some of that might sound familiar from some of your traditions. Just notice what that brings up. And it's simple in a sense. It's saying, yeah, imagine if all human beings committed to living this, then we would be moving, it would be a very different world. The global heart will be functioning in a very different way. And a lot of the issues that we're seeing would just not be there. So it's good to have a sense of righteousness, a good to have the sense of within yourself an ethical code. The question is, are you imposing that on others? And are you seeing, do you have an out of proportion viewpoint of yourself that you are morally more sound than someone else? Do you have your within yourself the capacity for the courageous self-reflection to possibly consider that the things that you are accusing others of, you have done in the past, you wish you would do in the future, or you are currently doing now? And that's where the ailment comes in. It's the dissonance, it's the disconnect between what is rightfully could be an ethical code you can live by, and the out of proportion incapacity to see how well you're doing in that, and the out of proportion capacity to judge others when they're not in that. So the ailment comes in this, creates separation when you see yourself as better than others, when you see yourself as the good guy and the other as not, or person, or folk, whatever word you might want to use. If I refer to good guy, bad guy, that's me just, I'm using like, I don't know, I loved movies from the 30s, American movies from the 30s. And it's like, yeah, the good guy and the bad guy. So that's where, sorry if that's where that's coming from. But to consider that a lot of the polarization and the struggle we're in is this idea that of an out of proportion view that you are all good and the other is all bad. And that you might have proof that a number of people that are on the other side of what your political views are, or ethical views, or views around race or economics or justice or oppression, that they may be doing some pretty bad things. But is it accurate to say that they are all completely bad and you are all completely good? And when you can start looking at that, that's a pivot, right? That's when you can start seeing some movement. So the ailment, the remedy, I should say, is, and then we'll look at that, and then I will discuss it a little bit. Where did it go?
I just put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. So the ailment, the remedy is, I always keep in mind that what I accuse you of, I have thought, said, done myself, or I am capable of thinking, saying, or doing. I always keep in mind that what I accuse you of, I've thought, said, done myself, or I am capable of thinking, saying, or doing. And as I said, that's what brings into this idea. Where is that? How much are you aware of your own thoughts, words, and actions? And that the idea is, what if we can eradicate this idea, these patterns that we have of harming others? So even if you might not kill someone, have you ever thought of killing someone? Have you ever said, man, I wish they were dead, or I would, man, I could kill them? And of course, thinking someone dead is not as severe as killing someone. But the point is, where are these impulses coming from? And that you may not act on it, but it may not be murder. It may not be death. It could be more subtle things, like just, how are you doing your taxes? How different ways that, one dilemma, if you say that you try not to steal, or if you go to a restaurant and if the person serving you has forgotten to put your meal on the menu, on the check at the end, what do? It's an interesting question. One person could see it as stealing. Another person could see it as good fortune. And that's up to you, what your own ethical code is and moral code is. But just the different ways, the subtle ways that, I guess what I'm positing here is that even though I don't act on these impulses, just the thought of it is also very, can cause harm in the long run. and that we see this playing out, these levels of a kind of disconnect between what people espouse, what people preach, and how they're acting. And this overinflated idea that because you believe it, and because the people who you hang out with also believe this as being true or right or morally correct, that it is fundamentally absolutely so. And that it's just the idea of to consider that even your ethical code should be examined for its checking to see how absolutely true and correct it is. That one of the things I always say is that a good way to be in terms of courageous self-reflection is always reflecting and having the courage to say the things that I hold to be true. We've talked about this with arrogance, in fact, the last time, that because I see it as true, that doesn't mean it is true, or it is the truth. It's just my truth. So in the self-righteousness is basically accusing others of something and not seeing how you might be doing it, or expecting that people live according to an ethical code that you live by. That's, that there are a lot of religions that do that. And I find it interesting that people who have expressed issues with sort of missionary way of that religions impose their views on others, that I see that they're imposing their views on others, just not institutionally, in a sense. So it's just something to think about, and in terms of, and the remedy of this leads to a deeper level of what I call healthy humility, where you just in a healthy way just stop yourself and realize, wow, okay, so I'm seeing how I'm doing that too, even in my thoughts, and I want to check that and shift that and work with that. And I believe it develops a deeper level of nonviolence. So to overcome self-righteousness, to me, is what brings us to a deeper level of nonviolence with ourselves, with others, and our surroundings, and with the planet itself. So let's leave it at that, and we can discuss afterwards and take it into our practice. So let's get ready to set up for our practice. So as always, sitting in a way where your spine is straight, elongating for all the way up the top through your neck. So you're tucking your chin in a little bit, your jaw is relaxed, face is relaxed, shoulders relaxed, belly's relaxed. Remembering this practice, what we're cultivating is a deeper level of resilience and open-heartedness, and anchoring the skills of presence, awareness, balance, and flow. Knowing that there's no right way to do this practice or wrong way. It's about finding your way. Allowing all energy to flow, emotions to flow, all feelings are welcome. Bringing your attention to your center, your core, the width of 3 fingers below your navel, a third of the way into the body, from the front of the body. So if you put your fingers together, place your index finger over your navel, where your pinky resides, that's the width of 3 fingers below your navel. Bringing your attention now inside of your body, about a third of the way from the front of the body, identifying that point there. Bringing your full attention to that spot. Center of gravity, creativity, impulse, personal power, awareness. From your center, become aware of your contact points, the parts of your body that are connecting with what you're sitting on, what's supporting you. Feeling the sensations of the contact that your body's making with those points. And from those points, feeling the stability of what you're sitting on and the ground, helping your nervous system develop a deeper level of relaxing into that stability and being held. From your center, become aware of your physical body, really cultivating this sense of perceiving your reality as opposed to thinking your reality or feeling your reality. So what are you aware of as you focus on your body, listening to its vocabulary? From your center, become aware of your emotions. Notice the tendency to maybe judge emotions, classify them. See if you can let that go and simply let them be energy and motion. From your center, become aware of your thoughts. Noticing in this moment how much of your thoughts are around judgment or assessment. Moral classifications, good or bad. Don't attach to them, but simply notice what it's like to assess your given situation as opposed to judge it. And maintaining a connection with your core as you bring awareness to your heart center or the middle of your chest, where your heart power resides. From your center and from your heart, connecting with that part of you that has access to something larger than yourself. Whatever that means for you. That can be your highest self, highest values, something spiritual, humanity. And using this moment to identify from your heart and from your core how connected you feel to that which is larger than yourself. With more of an awareness of yourself in this present moment, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. With more of an awareness of yourself in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of your surroundings. Again, seeing if you can assess your surroundings without judging the surroundings. Like curious situational awareness, attention in all directions. With more of an awareness of yourself and your surroundings in this present moment, take a deep breath in. With an awareness of yourself and your surroundings from your center and from your heart, become aware of those in this meditation circle. Just getting a sense, even with your eyes closed, of connecting from your heart and from your personal power with all of those who are in this meditation at this moment. Different parts of North America, Europe, other parts of the world. Checking in what's your capacity in this moment from your core and your heart to connect with others without judgment, simply to observe and be aware and notice. With more of an awareness of yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Now expanding your capacity to take more human beings into your heart and expand your awareness and your resilience. From your center and from your heart, maintaining a connection with yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle. Become aware of all human beings, beginning with those human beings you would first label as loved ones. And notice, maybe imagining you standing face to face with them, connecting from your personal power and your heart with honor and respect, with their personal power and their heart. Notice how much of your connecting with them is based on judgment or assessment. Who arises? Who do you see from your circle of loved ones, you would say? And imagine just from your heart that you radiate out the following statement to yourself and to them as you engage with them. I always keep in mind that what I accuse you of, I've thought, said, done myself, or I am capable of thinking, saying, or doing. I always keep in mind that what I accuse you of, I have thought, said, done myself, or I am capable of thinking, saying, or doing. Allowing energy to flow, emotions to flow. Bringing your awareness now to those that you would label strangers. Really seeing can you identify specific faces? Maybe someone you happened to pass on the street yesterday, saw on the news, or groups of people. And is it possible to stand face to face with them from your core and from your heart and observe your own level of, are you engaging with assessment or are you engaging with judgment? See if you can move past the judgment and see them, just simply see them for who they are in this moment. Checking in with all the assumptions you've made up about them, realizing that they're just your stories about them. And as you engage with with these people you would label strangers, imagine from your heart communicating, I always keep in mind that what I accuse you of, I've thought, said, done myself, or I am capable of thinking, saying, or doing. Now bringing your awareness to those human beings you would label adversary. Really taking on the task of seeing specific faces or groups of people standing face to face. Notice what happens Does it change how open your heart is at this moment? Your level of safety? And see if it's possible from your center and from your heart to engage with them, noticing how much of your way of engaging with them is either through judgment or assessment. Again, considering that the assumptions you've made about them that may have nothing to do with who they are. And see if it's possible to do it as from your heart to communicate that they really hear the message, and just see what happens when you speak to them from your heart. I always keep in mind that what I accuse you of, I have thought, said, done myself, or I am capable of thinking, saying, or doing. Let them hear that message. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. Just taking a moment to do an inventory of the effects of the practice so far. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Feeling that level of expansion. And with this awareness of yourself, your surroundings, those in this meditation circle, and all human beings, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Taking this awareness, taking all of these members of the human family into your heart, as you bring your awareness back to the meditation circle. Taking those in this meditation circle with you as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Bringing your surroundings into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. Noticing the benefits of the practice. Letting the efforts of this practice, the energy you've generated, seep into all of your cells, feeding your cells, feeding your organs, igniting your heart, and filling your battery in your core. And as a way to close this practice, let's take one final breath. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes and look around the room. Stretch. So we started with our motivation. We did our practice. Now there's some time to reflect. Does anybody want to share your thoughts or feelings about the topic of self-righteousness, or what came up on your practice?
Joe, while you were speaking earlier before the meditation, a story came to my mind, and this happened when I was in my 20s, and never forgot that. I was in the lab in Argentina. I was in the lab, and I don't remember what one of my colleagues did. And I said to him, "But you don't have a moral." And he said to me, "Yes, I do. but it's different than yours. And, and it was, I never ever forgot that because it's so perfect, right? Yes, he had, but it's different than mine. And it comes exactly to your, what you mentioned today about try to understand where the other comes from and things of that sort. So that came up again to my mind today.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. I mean, that's I don't know who that person is. I mean, that could be a very wise person or a very evil person who just basically found a good way to get out of being called on his immorality. It was That's interesting. Beautiful.
Wow, this was a really powerful meditation for me today. And I think it's because judgment is something that I was taught well by my parents, especially my mother. And it took me a long time to really understand it and see how I learned that lesson very well. Yeah, just that you know, the whole in the meditation when we went to other, I began to see how that still plays, that it still shows up, judgment. And you know, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Michael Brown. He wrote a book called The Presence Process, or if they've heard of The Presence Process. But in it, it's a 10-week meditation process that takes it. It was profound for me. But anyhow, he talks about judgment, and you know, he says judgment's a double standard, one that lifts us up to appear superior, while on the other hand, it insists that everyone behave exactly like we do. And that the most damaging consequence of judgment is that we identify ourselves and others by the experience we're having instead of by the shared presence that we are. And so, you know, the bottom line is, in judgment, we blame others for a predicament we all share.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
So thank you. It was a beautiful meditation today for me.
I just want to emphasize that, you know, what you're speaking to is that it's not, we should have a moral code, right? We should have an ethical code. It's not the question. And there are things that we should not allow to happen. It's just the out of proportion way that we're viewing ourselves in that, that we seem to exempt ourselves from a lot of it. So I want to make that clear that there are injustices in the world, and there is a lot of pain happening, and there's a lot of oppression, and people are doing harmful things. And that because you can say, get to the point where you can say, wow, I can do that as well, that doesn't mean you condone it and they should continue doing it. It simply is, that's a different remedy, right? That this one is just about looking about how self-righteousness does keep us from finding deeper connections and finding new solutions. Tammy's asking Keith for a reference for the chat. Anybody else?
Just that the whole thing, the whole presentation made me realize how much separation it creates, just even in the smallest way, that it creates that illusion of separation.
Yeah.
Sad to me.
Thank you.
Judgment for me also has a weight to it that assessment doesn't. So judgment seems to land on me and on energy in a way that it then takes a lot more effort to kind of peel it off or to move forward toward connection. So it's not only a separator, but also a ka-chunk weight.
Thank you.
Eliza.
I find that with judgment, that it's like two sides of a coin, and on one side of the coin is judgment, and then if I can flip it over to the other side is curiosity. And if I can remember that, then when I'm having a judgmental moment or I'm judging myself for judging, then I say, wait a minute, you're very close to being curious. And so all you have to do now is flip it over and get into curiosity. And with curiosity, to start the process, if I can say something like, how can there be a blessing in this? How can there be a gift here? And often with judgment, I'm asking a why question. Why did this happen? Why is this going on? And it doesn't get me anywhere. So if I can get it, flip it over and sort of invite myself to get to a how question. How can this be an opportunity? How can something good come out of this? That will get the ball rolling. And then I feel like I can get to a better place with that.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you. Sorry to judge you by calling it beautiful, but thank you. Yeah. I often say that, and I think that's what you're saying. The antidote to judgment is curiosity. And I love the way you're saying that, though, Eliza, that it's like, it's actually judgment is, oh, if I see that there's judgment, then I've just got to look around the corner. I've got to find curiosity somewhere. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. I think they're like oil and water. And so if I'm judging, I can't be curious. And if I'm being curious, I can't be judging.
Right. Nice. Thank you. Okay, so let's just a couple of things. We started with our motivation. We did our practice. We had some chance to reflect. And as I always say, it's great to see familiar faces and feel familiar hearts. Let's keep doing this. If you're interested in some of the work we're doing, we're doing a weekend workshop, the Respectful Confrontation Weekend Workshop online. That starts April 30th, the evening of April 30th, and May 1st and 2nd. So please look on our website. Todd just put the link. But you can look on our website, respectfulconfrontation.com, and we're cultivating a lot of sweet things. I'm doing a keynote on April 21st at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Freshwater Summit. It's free. You can register now and not only get access to the entire summit and conference, but they've also have free access to 15 documentaries about conservation and the preservation of rivers around the world. It's really quite beautiful. So I don't know if we have a link to that, Todd, but you can post it. He just put it there. So just take a look at that. It'd be great to support us. So join us for that. It's a 45-minute talk on April 21st. And as you know, if you're feeling generous in your heart and compelled to want to share for this session, feel free to make a contribution for the Fierce Ability Project. Which is now officially a public charity. And is there any other announcements or anything else? Anybody? No? Okay, well then let's dedicate this. May the efforts of our practice today continue to enliven and awaken our hearts to deeper levels of curiosity, which can only benefit not only ourselves, but others, anyone we encounter. Feel that feeling of someone spilling curiosity all over you, just how enlivening and healing and enriching that is. And how many people at this moment on the planet could use that, could just use a little bit of attention on who they are and their gifts. So may this practice help us all to cultivate that. May all human beings and all beings on this planet have enough fresh water to drink and food to eat. And may all governments and leaders govern from a place of wisdom as opposed to fear and greed. Okay, Thank you all. See you next week. And have a great week. And be in touch if anything comes up, but otherwise we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.